Hey guys, Alien here, and today we're going to be discussing a very important topic to the Halo community and to the future of Halo in general, and that is how will Cortana be defeated, or how will her situation play out in Halo 6. So the very first theory we're going to start off on today is a little bit out there. It's kind of an extreme theory, but it's one that I have seen getting a little bit of credit in the community, and I find it personally very interesting. That is, let's say hypothetically that Cortana's Guardians are taking over the galaxy. The galaxy is fallen, everything is pretty much overran. But let's say that humanity, in their own way, views Cortana almost as the Flood. And it is decided that the only way that this could be achieved is by the activation of a Halo array. So, if the activation of the Halo array were to happen, it would obviously wipe out all life of the galaxy. So this is a bit extreme, but we do know that the Chief is not afraid to light a Halo. In Halo Escalation, he threatened the Didact with this exact same scenario. So the Halos, I believe, could be used in one way, shape, or form to defeat Cortana. One reason for this is obviously we've seen a ring at the end of the Halo 5 Legendary cutscene. So what would happen if he were to threaten to fire the Halos? Would Cortana back down, or what? Because, I mean, in all honesty, I don't think Chief would wipe out all life in the galaxy to stop Cortana, but he could threaten her, blackmail her, whatever you want to say. But the Master Chief activating the Halo would be one way, obviously a surefire way to stop Cortana's spread, because if there's no life left to protect. But this would be a very dark thing for Halo to go for. It would pretty much result in no life in the galaxy and having to restart from scratch. So that was it for the first theory. Second theory kind of ties in with the first one, but it's a totally different theory in itself, and that is that the Flood are released to battle Cortana. If the Flood were to be released, they would spread violently throughout the entire galaxy, as they always have. This would be a huge test for Cortana and her so-called created that are going to take over the mantle. Reason being for this is that the Flood, even though Cortana has all Forerunner technology, what defeated the Forerunner technology back in their day? The Flood. The Flood are unstoppable. There has never been any way found to stop the Flood except for the supposed ancient human cure. So releasing the Flood would be one extreme way to stop Cortana, and would pretty much set the stage for a reenactment of what happened with the Forerunners. But one must remember that humanity, if they are still being tested, is by the Precursors. And a human would not wipe out all life in the galaxy. I would not believe. The Librarian plainly stated that Chief would be her example, and that the human race was to take control of the mantle. So, releasing the Flood is another extreme theory, but I feel like Halo 6 is going to be one of those games that you are going to not know what's going to happen next. There's going to be some very extreme things, because let's face it, the UNSC and the Master Chief in general are going to have to be very extremist to stop Cortana, almost result into terror tactics. You must remember that no matter what happens, Cortana is controlling of the most powerful Forerunner machines ever created. These Guardians can control hundreds of solar systems by themselves. So these Guardians are all but unstoppable. But they were in all of their glory unable to defeat the Flood back in their day. Now the third theory that we're going to discuss is one that I've already talked about in one of my videos previously, but I'm going to bring it up for the sake of this video because I feel it is relevant. And that is a theory that Chief will resurrect Mendicant Bias to defeat Cortana. Now this theory, I feel like it is the most plausible, because Mendicant Bias is obviously buying for his atonement. He wants to prove himself worthy to his creators, and like I said in my previous video, what better way than to stop Cortana's created? If any AI would pose a significant threat to Cortana's plan, it would be Mendicant Bias. No AI in history at the time of the Halo events is as powerful as Mendicant Bias, and Mendicant Bias would pose a grave threat to Cortana's plan. He would be able to control the Forerunner machinery, and he would also be able to potentially overthrow Cortana's mindset. because as advanced as Cortana thinks she is, Mendicant Bias is far more advanced. He was the first contender class AI to ever be made, and a contender class AI is a very big beast in itself. So let's say Mendicant Bias reunites with the remaining Forerunners, and yes, there are remaining Forerunners out there, but they're obviously skeptical, but they don't have much of a choice, and Mendicant Bias is able to bring down Cortana. That would be very proper atonement for the sins that he done back in his day. So what we're going to discuss now is sacrifice to defeat Cortana. I honestly have a feeling we're going to see a lot of main character deaths in Halo 6. I personally fear this, and I hope it isn't true, but I expect that Halsey will in one way, shape, or form give her life for the Master Chief. Halsey is going to die in this next game, and she is going to pass away in a very brilliant way, because you must remember that Catherine Halsey is a brilliant mind in herself. She is the creator of Cortana. So she could pose a significant threat to Cortana's plans and anything that she has in mind for the galaxy, because nobody is going to be able to stop her. But Catherine Halsey, the creator of Cortana, may just hold the key to how to stop her. Bullet points that we're going to talk about is Chief's vow. Chief vowed to protect humanity whatever the cost. You will be the protectors of Earth and all her colonies. That is the vow that he has lived by pretty much his entire life. And Chief will not betray humanity. In no way, shape, or form will he go against the human race. Sure, he may have went kind of rogue in Halo 5, it was massively exaggerated by false advertising, but the Chief himself would not turn against the human race. He would never do this. So, whatever happens, whatever the events play out, he will always side with humanity over Cortana. That has always been his pledge, and it always will be. One thing that Cortana must keep in mind is that there are still a lot of Forerunner presence in the galaxy. It may not seem like it, but you have Guilty Spark searching for the Librarian as he claims she is still alive. You have the potential for the Didact to return. Granted, they say that he was taken care of in escalation whenever he came crashing to the ground on the Halo ring. But there are also theories out there that the Didact is still alive, just in a composed mindset now. For all we know, we could see the Didact become a monitor, but I severely doubt that's going to happen. But you also have so many different possibilities of Precursors returning. You have the possibilities of pretty much anything that could happen. The Precursors, I feel like their story is far from over. Yes, it's been tens of millions of years, but in some way, shape, or form, I could see a Precursor presence in this game. Because they were the creators of the galaxy, and the Forerunners were deemed unworthy, so humanity was going to take up the mantle. But before they could do this, the Forerunners rose up and destroyed the Precursors. But the Precursors had always said that humanity would be tested, and what better way to test humanity than for this situation. We just seen one Guardian knock out the entire grid to what is presumably Earth. So one must stop and go with a huge amount of speculation on this. Now, one thing that I am very interested in is the fact that Cortana, for all intents and everything she's worth, is beyond corrupted at this point. She will never be able to go back to life as normal. There will never be another Halo game unless it's a remake with Cortana and the back chip of Master Chief, because she has just done too much now. There's no way to go back to who she was. If her plan fails, she will fade away into legend. So, one thing that we gotta keep in mind is the massive influence that Chief could have over Cortana. Is it possible that Chief could talk Cortana down, talk her out of her plan? Well, he done tried this once. But maybe once the costs start adding up, once the casualties are going up, Cortana could come to her true face and realize that this is not her. But with that being said, we have the potential for Logic Plague and anything else that could be impacting her. The Domain. You must remember that Cortana uploaded herself into the Domain. One thing we must ask ourselves is, how trustworthy is the Domain? The Domain itself is a precursor construct. It is a precursor construct that the Forerunners used for millions of years to store the memories of their ancestors. and is one that Cortana now has access to. She is using Precursor technology that built the Forerunner civilization in so many ways. So we must ask ourselves, if Cortana is able to take control fully of the domain, what knowledge will she possess? Mendicant bias, if he is in this game, he was the one who lived through those events, and he must atone for himself. So Mendicant bias will do whatever it takes to atone his honor. Alright guys, that was just a couple of quick things I wanted to discuss, kind of get some Cortana speculation going, because there's so many different ways this could go, from the extreme of Chief threatening to activate Halo or release the Flood, to Mendicant bias taking his side alongside the Chief to defeat her, all the way into just simply talking her down and making her want to come home. So please guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please check out a couple of these other videos right here. And if you're interested in more, I ask you to please hit that subscribe button. That'd be great. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.